We're live.
Morning, everyone. Like to call the July 21st Occupancy Tax Coordination Committee to order. I need a motion to approve the June 23rd minutes. Motion made by Supervisor Runyon, seconded by Supervisor Etu. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Privilege of the floor and public comment. No new business this month. So we'll move forward. We have 3 discussion items. First one is a treasurer's report. Steen?
Morning and thank you. You guys have the reports in front of you. Got some interesting things to chat about this month. If you look at the first report, it's not only are we sharing with you how June went, but we're also giving you the Q2 year to date. In June, you'll see an uptick 20% overall. Again, the top graph or the top table is all collections, hotels, motels, resorts, and short-term rentals. The middle chart is hotel, motels, and resorts, and the bottom chart is short-term rentals. In June, you'll see overall we're up 20%, with the hotels, motels up 25% and 6% in short-term rentals. The reason we're having such a significant overall increase in June is because we had one hotel motel resort that was fairly significant that was paying on an annual basis. And somehow this slipped through our cracks, but we had reached out and they are paying what they owe. And they are being obviously interest and penalties, but they had several years that they were in delinquency. So that was pretty substantial. Without that hotel and motel and resort, in the month of June. So a large part of the June uptick is the payments of the outstanding periods from a property. Without those outstanding payments received in June, June would be down 4% for hotels, motels, and resorts, and it would be down 7% for the overall quarter. When you look at May, Vinny and I were talking, if you look at May, you'll see that overall we were all down. One thing that's important to remember is our May numbers reflect our actual April activity, but we're paid, the April occupancy tax was paid in May. And so the May occupancy tax was paid in June. Everybody following that? Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. So May was down largely because of the April, we had some really bad weather for the hotels, motels, and resorts, but also the short-term rentals were down. Any questions on that? Okay. The other one I want to just take you through is the year to date. Year to date is the second graph. Again, top is total, middle is hotels, bottom is short-term rentals. From a year to date perspective, we're up 1%. So we're pretty flat. As you'll see again, the 0.14% for hotels, motels, and resorts. And we're up slightly with 2% on the short-term rentals. We are not as inundated as we were with the short-term rentals. I mean, we were literally couldn't get our day job done. They have slowed, but people still are coming out of the woodwork because they are concerned that now there's the New York State sales tax. So we have a lot of new registrations that are people that have been flying under the radar screen. So that's why we're still continuing to see a bit of an uptick in short-term rentals, and I hope it continues. Any questions? Heather was kind enough to give me a few more minutes. I want to give you an update on the end-to-end occupancy tax automation and process optimization. We were ready at the last meeting, except I had a slight blunder. I didn't bring Deckard to this group. I had it on the finance committee, but I failed to bring it to this group. Since then, working with Julie Butler, Deckard actually got, they fell off the New York State list. They were removed, which is not great. So we did some further investigation. We also, Deckard had phenomenal results when we did our reference checks, but I had told them that I wanted end-to-end portal references. And what they gave us was their rentalscape, which is their base functionality. which is their identification, their compliance of unknown short-term rentals. And I do think that they've got probably one of the best tools out there. When they finally got to me with the end-to-end portal results, because I had a little extra time to look at it, they did not get great references. In fact, so we took our time, we had a little extra time. GovOS has some great references, so we're actually reconsidering, we're rethinking our decision here. The other thing, Tyler was the third person. Tyler actually does our New World, which is our financial backend, New World accounting system software. I would love if we could use Tyler for as many modules as possible to get an entire kind of LinkedIn system or integrated system. After we complete our implementation of our new time management system, and after we implement our occupancy tax system, we are then looking at our tax system, which also will integrate with our New World. All of these things have to integrate at the back end with New World. So Tyler actually has an opportunity for OCTAX automation portal end to end as well. So we're looking at them as well. They do not have the identification and compliance. That's a big kind of negative for them. And the only other reason why we didn't come to you right now with GovOS, because I really do think that's where we're going to go. While I was able to get everybody down by 50%, I couldn't get them below 50. They came to 62. They were at 120. I got them down to 62.1. So again, little frustrating, but I think the extra time is giving us we're giving us time to do some extra due diligence, and I think we're going to get the right answer. But unfortunately, I don't think Deckard's going to be the right answer. Questions?
Questions from the board?
No. Thank you.
Christine, I just want to note, I think these numbers are positive. I mean, every day of Americade this year fell in May. Even the weekend, even though Americade was probably a little slower than we had hoped, it still all fell in May. So that reflected June. And we have, we had the fireman convention this year which will reflect in July numbers for next month. So.
Yes, June
Yes.
June was up. It was just a little overinflated.
Right.
And I do think that.
Yeah, because of
Yeah.
election. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Quarterly report from Gina.
Good morning, everyone. So to follow along, I'm going to call, I think yours is page 5 or 6 in your printouts, and for me, it's page 1. I think. Yep. Okay. I just want to make sure of that. So we had a very productive Q2 with 54 leads distributed, 37 bookings that resulted in 15,000 attendees and 10,000 room nights. We finally started to crest. When we did our original goals, we'd like to get to almost 2 people per room night when you're booking for meeting, convention, sports, that group business, but we're still below, but we're not quite at just 1-to-1. If we look at last year, we were 1-to-1. So we've gotten a little over that, like maybe 1.5 per room nights that are booked, with an economic impact of 19.1 million for those bookings. And we had 37,000 website visits. And just to be clear on that, the target that we have for Meet Lake George website is all meeting, event, sports, wedding type event planners, not your average leisure traveler, not your everyman. It's, we target all of our marketing and advertising efforts specifically to event planners. So that's who's visiting our site. And we always see uptick after trade shows because we've done so much follow-up, which we did have some trade shows in this time frame that you'll see that also is a direct result of that follow-up as well. And then 423 new social followers. Many of those social followers are typically in the wedding market because we're so visual on Instagram with weddings and properties in the weddings and services that are here for weddings as we promote this area year round as a destination, wedding destination. The following page, a note for this KPIs. If you were to look, those are the same that were on the front. We like to give you that visual on the front. But this is really, we're on target with each area except for that attendance. And when we did our goals for attendees, our goal was to try to shoot higher, but every other key performance indicator is, so we're on target or above for 6 months out for year to date. So we're really excited about that. And, you know, at the end, if there's any questions on any of those metrics, please ask as we go along. On the next page, our Q2 highlights were specifically in this, you know, for activity throughout this quarter. There was 27 events that were touched in some way, shape, or form. Those 27 events were at 27.9 economic impact for those that actually took place in this period. And there was 20,000 room nights for those events within this quarter, and 17,000 attendees. And, you know, some of those attendees may not have been in a room. They could have been in and out visitors for several of conferences that are here, because as you'll see, some of the conferences that we had in the market during that time were state conferences. So if you attended one, you didn't spend the night.
Correct.
Or, and we've had several that were here, as you'll see, where county employees in some way, shape, or form either champion the effort to have it here, or were attendees and participants, which is really great, because in years past, we might have been overlooked, but the more, you know, engaged our own employees are, has allowed us to bring their statewide conferences here. So, and that's a big deal, because they could go somewhere else in the state. So we'll take any of that business and service it to the best of our ability. So you saw that the Superintendent's Association, they were here, and Rural Housing Coalition was here. A major bowling tournament was here, and they stayed all over. And also Firecracker Sports, they're expanding their annual Battle of the Borders baseball tournament in Warren County, because now we've got additional fields that we're allowed to use and rent at SUNY Adirondack. They waited a few years once they renovated and added new amenities there, and now they've been actually able to rent those, and we've been able to utilize them for other events outside of the college's purview there, which has been great for all of us, because it puts additional rooms in the market or additional participants. On the following page, a couple of things to note in the meetings market. So while we attended the North Star small and boutique meetings in Vermont, because we had staff that were already committed to other events, the Queensberry Hotel went on behalf of the whole destination. It was a new event that we really wanted to be at, because it's the Northeast attendance or in the region. So we had 66 new connections, which we would not have seen had we not reached out to our partners to say, would somebody like to go to this on our behalf? So then we could share those out to anybody and everybody in the destination who wants and will work those contacts as well as us. The Empire State Society of Association Executives, that's an annual event. We're members of that event. We're engaged. We sponsor events for them. And so while it's a trade show, we go to that trade show with our other partners, the Sagamore, the Queensberry Hotel, and the Fort William Henry. So we all have space there, and we're all in it to win it together as our Lake George area destination. On the following page, some standouts for convention services, just highlights there, were we produced and distributed over 2,000 welcome bags in this quarter. So that means that they're getting all sorts of destination information. You'll see too, a lot of referrals to various other partners in the destination, but that's a big deal, that welcome here, because it's also an opportunity for us to ask them to come back as vacationers, not just here for their meeting. And so that's always a big part of what we put in those welcome bags, or what other people in the destination have given us to put in them. So I'm looking at Christine because she had a big meeting in this time frame. So, you know, that particular meeting, we had, you know, speakers from this room were welcoming them. The group had a great time. They are rebooking for next year. And that's always a goal. If we can rebook, you know, it's easier to get a repeat customer than it is to get a new one. So we appreciate all your efforts in leading that. And everybody was on deck for that. Warren County Tourism Office, our office, I mean, everybody. So it was really, you know, the feedback from them is, you know, we got great press coverage and other things because of that. Again, when other people are engaged in it locally, it really is helpful. And you could see that just in, how people want to come back here. They're more excited about the destination when they have a local, as their handler, so to speak, or, so thank you for that. Also, we had major registration tables. And when I say that, it's not just we're sitting at a table, but like for the New York State chapter of the American College of Surgeons, that group had not met in 10 years and they chose to come to the Sagamore, which was a big deal. We had talked to them at a previous event last year, an essay to say, you really need to come here. Because their office is based in Albany, so we get to talk to them. So this was a very big deal for us. And our registration staff, actually, their planner is a third-party planner from outside of the area. So he actually stayed there the whole conference, helped to sign guests in on their laptop, and did other things besides just managing welcome center activities, that we would normally do there. And then we also had the, as I mentioned, the Association of Counties. So that those were big deals for us too. In this time frame, 6 custom microsites, and the microsites that might have been produced now could be for an event that's not until 3, 6, 12 months out. Oftentimes people want to promote their event in advance and the destination so that we get greater attendance. And that's always our motivation, is that we always want to get better attendance. And then lastly, the 339 partner referrals on behalf of 11 clients in this time frame, that could have been for a variety of things. It could have been for a wedding, could have been for a bus tour, could have been for a meeting, and it might have been for food trucks. Like Primetime Lacrosse was here this weekend. They needed food trucks. They needed additional fields. Weddings are always looking for a variety of things, bakeries and other things while they're here for their upcoming wedding. And so that's part of what we do as referrals. So for those 11 clients, for one, we might have referred 20 different destination partners for that time frame, just to explain that a little bit more for you. That's my page 5. I think that's your page 6. Under community development, probably the biggest thing that's NYSTIA conference. That event that we were all at, and I say we, Heather, Warren County Tourism Office, the CVB, we were all there, but that event, their fall event is coming here. And we're already all working on that. Heather's on a particular committee for that. I'm working on their immersion tours. We're doing 2 different tours for that. That's coming up in September. They are going to do a whole tour of Lake Luzerne. We're going to hit Nettle Meadow, the folk school, and Rev Rail in Hadley for that. And then we're also doing a floating classroom tour as an immersion tour. So, and it's all based on economic development for those particular folks in Lake Luzerne. And the floating classroom is all about the science of the lake, because many of our destination partners from around the state have lakes and other things, but of course we've got the cleanest lake. And so we want to tout that in any way, shape, or form. So, and that group will also have a dine around while they're here in September. It's September 10th through the 12th. So it's after car show when we have a little dip typically we have a dip before we all gear up for Balloon Festival and, other events that happen around the area. And then our DMO group, we had 40 folks from around the state that were here, that are all the larger destinations from around the state. We had 40 folks go on waterfront cruises. We divided up the group and had 2 dinners at restaurants that might have been already flow that week. It was in the middle of Americade. Our state, I say state, I Love New York folks had not ever been here during Americade. They were here in full force. They witnessed something that they've been trying to promote. Now they can promote it even more so because they actually saw Americade, with their own eyes. So that was really helpful for all of us, hopefully for also future promotion. Under community and partners, we have monthly CVB meetings, and we can't tout them enough because of what we're able to review with destination partners, so that maybe they get another room out of, like the lacrosse tournament that was here this weekend, or those kinds of things. We talk about upcoming business. We review past business to see how people fare during different peaks. And then you can see how additional events attended, where we were all out and about throughout the community throughout the quarter. On page 8, your page 9, just when you look at our marketing, the biggest piece there is website page views. People are planning in advance. They're looking at all parts of our destination. And again, all of our other marketing, advertising, whether it's e-blasts or advertising is all pointing
Mhm.
back to meetlakegeorge.com. And then it becomes an extension of Visit Lake George, which it is. So we're always inviting people to come here with their meeting, conventions, bus tour groups and that sort of thing. But also, we want them to then be thinking about vacation as well. One piece that you'll see towards the bottom, headline impressions, 434,000. So this native content, this was a new marketing aspect that we've been trying to do even better. And this is through the Albany Business Review because we want to reach their other syndicated publications in the Northeast because there's other business journals. And so we use that native content. And what that means is that it becomes an ad that floats through their other syndications, syndicated publications. So it's not just in the capital region. And so we've gained a lot of traction from that one piece of, it's called native advertising, but it's a form of advertising, but we write stories and the stories pop up. And so you can see those headlines of that native content. And then on the following page, when you see a big hit like our social followers and social media reach, it's all about the imagery and people in the imagery. In the meetings and market for what we do, people need to be in they don't want to see an empty ballroom. They don't want to see an empty space. Our lake is beautiful, but they want to see people on the boat that's on the lake and see themselves in that as a group with lanyards and those kinds of things. So we're always using that type of imagery and it sells better. When I say sells, people click on it, they look at it, they review it, that sort of thing. So I already mentioned the new followers on that page. And then really the other advertising, you can see each publication where we were at, what's their circulation, what the image was that we would have used for that. Because this is also, Q2 is also a time when people are already in their meetings. It's a big meeting time frame, the spring and the fall. So they're also looking at, okay, what am I doing next year? So we're out there in full force during that time frame, probably more so. And then again, we'll see more pickup in the fall as well with that. And all of the backup for all the numbers, all of the reports that are requested, activity, whether it's new or repeat business, room nights, attendance, what's pending, what's lost, it's all in all of those backup reports for you. Any questions? Yes.
How do you feel about bus tours? You think it's finally coming back?
Yes. We've seen a lot more in the market. And we see that specifically, I don't want to say you can drive by Golden Corral on any day or night and you'll see a bus there. But we're actually, our partners have said, okay, I've had 3 of these now. We're seeing more this summer season, which normally we don't see a lot in the summer, although I do see regional buses in and out of the Holiday Inn on a regular basis when they have the dinner theater because they come for the matinees. And we see that too. We've seen several that we hadn't seen in the past for when the matinees are at the Wood Theater in Glens Falls for their matinee shows during this summer season. And then just sightseers. We saw several that, and I'll call them Asian tourists, because they all were stopped in the middle of Canada and Beach Road, stopping traffic as they were doing their own. They had gotten off their bus. The bus dropped them off by where the trolley stop is. And they stopped in the middle of the road doing their own videos of everything around. And there was a lot of people on the street and, but there was 3 buses that dropped off there, to walk around the village. That was earlier in the season. That was in June, actually, when those were here. But we're seeing more. You'll physically see them around the area. Any other questions? Yes, Joshua.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I noticed you talked about your website, Meet Lake George, and
Mhm.
I just went on my phone here while you were speaking and was looking at your website, and it looks beautiful. Hard to even encapsulate everything on there. But are we as a like the county invests in several different partners in terms of advertising, just as an example, Lake George TV.
Mhm.
Are you guys cross advertising, meaning should there be a link on Meet Lake George for Lake George TV and vice versa? I'm just wondering, like, you know, when the county puts forth all these dollars, can we optimize it somehow by you promoting what we invest in? I don't know exactly how much we give you Warren County occupancy tax meeting, but I am assuming it's a substantial number, and I'm just trying to think outside the box.
You know, I will double check with Heather. We keep that line in the sand that Meet Lake George is for that meeting and event planner, and Lake George TV has been traditionally seen to market to the leisure traveler. So let me double check to make sure that we put meeting and event videos, meeting type content on lakegeorge.tv to make sure that it aligns. We tried to do everything as the brand extension, and I will double check all of that and I will report back to you.
Sure. Yeah, I guess I'm not just limiting it to Lake George TV, like anything that the
Yeah.
county invests money into. I guess I'm just thinking it should be mandated as a requirement to accept our dollars, that everything is like got links right there for people to get to access.
So all other, any event that is given occupancy tax money, we make sure it's on all event pages, that they have a listing of some sort about that physical event, so that we're all sharing that event information. But I need to go back specifically, as you're saying, about lakegeorge.tv, to make sure that I'm doing that properly. But all other, we go through anybody who's otherwise has been given money, and we typically have everything approved through Heather, and her office, as we make sure that it's part of the extending of the brand.
Thank you, Ms.
Question.
Thanks.
Gina?
Yeah.
Oh, you gonna hand something out? I might have a question for you.
No, I don't have anything to hand out. It's all in advance.
I'm gonna ask you a question.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Yes, sure.
The metrics look good, 25 compared to 24. When I look at them in the back, I don't know if it's because the year 2025 is not finished yet. It said book attendees, 44,000. 2024, 30,900. Although the room nights are less, on the 44,000 number compared to the 30,000.
So when we were doing the goal for what we submitted to the county for 3 years.
Yeah.
We went back in time and looked at, okay, what was the average over the last 3 years? And then we added a 10% goal. So like, while last year might have been a high one of 32,000, the prior year might have been less. So, but we're going to exceed our goal of this year, but we did it as an average over the 3-year period. And that's why we also had a bump in the year-end target, thinking that last year, for the booked attendees, we had 15,000 in there for Hudson Valley Firemen Association based on what they had projected for 2016, which that's what
Right.
they said they had.
Yep.
We know that we didn't see 15,000 people, so we've right-sized that for this coming 2026 when they're coming back to about 6,000.
Well, there were more companies that came and.
There were more companies, and because of all those advanced weather reports, we saw a lot of people who canceled their rooms, but then ended up coming at the last minute for the parade.
Right,
We-
okay,
Yeah, we did see that.
all right.
Yeah,
Thank you.
and we've already begun that, the debriefing of that to get that
Yeah.
right size as well.
Yeah.
So we can get that information out.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
Planning Department, Ethan?
Morning, folks. I think you've all got a one-page or sheet in the back of your agenda. So this is a discussion item that I wanted to bring as a point of collaboration between my department and this tourism committee, occupancy tax committee. In 2023 and 2024, our department worked very hard with a variety of other partners to develop the outdoor recreation economy strategic plan. This plan outlined a lot of different strategies and projects that we could be pursuing as a county to amplify the economic impact of outdoor recreation on our tourism economy. The reason I'm bringing this to this committee's attention today is because, as we've seen in the past, decade or so, it's a growing awareness of the impact of the tourism economy and our overall economy and community development. And it's taken up a greater piece of the pie. So the memo in front of you shows some of the projects that my department is pursuing as implementation of the Outdoor Recreation Economy Strategic Plan. And it's essentially a starting point for discussion about utilizing occupancy tax funds to support funding requests from state and federal agencies. The idea being that we could make these targeted investments in the physical assets that actually bring people here and keep them coming. And on all cases, leverage about $3 for every $1 that we invest. So I've got 4 projects outlined there. Hudson River Rail Corridor Feasibility Study. This is to take a sort of a long horizon look at the Warren County Railway as a really unique asset that we have for bringing people. Right now, we have really successful Rev Rail there. We've had tourist trains in the past. There's been a lot of other conversations, possibilities of rail with trails. And we really haven't made a decision as a county about the future of that rail corridor. But we'd like to actually take a clear-eyed look at what opportunities there. This is a conversation that's ongoing with our DPW Parks and Railroad Committee. So it's still sort of being scoped out, Kevin, in that committee. Second project on there is Mountain to River Downtown Connection. The Outdoor Recreation Economy Strategic Plan really emphasized the need to get people from these outdoor recreation assets to main streets and hamlets, the places where people stick around and spend money. So we'd like to, and we will be submitting a grant application for this one, but this one is really looking at the physical connections between Main Street, North Creek, and these are $40 million of investments that are being made at Ski Bowl Park right now. I think anyone that's passed by there recently, if you didn't know it, there's a charming, bustling Main Street that's about to have a sewer district, and then there's this massive Orta facility that's going to have, summer and winter destinations there. So we'd really like to continue to build out the physical connection between those two places so that it's a sort of a seamless experience for folks. Third project on there is implementing the Warren County multi-trail modernization connectivity study. This builds off a study that was funded in part by the Occupancy Tax Committee back in 2022. We leveraged $160 million in federal funding to complete this study, or it's in draft form right now. The idea behind this project is to enhance the signage along the trail into key nodes. And this way people can navigate up and down the trail safely, as well as get to surrounding destinations. This is a really big attraction for visitors. And some of our preliminary findings are really that top of the line 30 years ago, but there's some basic safety improvements and navigation improvements that we can make to this. Fourth project is the Mill Creek Recreation Area Trail Development. This one came out of a study that was actually funded through this committee as well, in which we looked at a 170-acre parcel of land in Weavertown and established some conceptual trail routes through it with a professional trail builder, Steve Abbott, done a lot of successful work around the county. And we're putting in an application to actually implement portions of that study. So really today, I'm not asking anything from this committee, but I did want to coordinate with you because our office is doing a lot that does interact with tourism. And take a look at the projects, and at a future date, if these grants are awarded, might be coming back to this committee seeking funding support for these projects. So that's where we're at today. And if anyone has any questions, please let me know. I will say, having looked at some of the most recent visitor survey data coming out of Roost up in Essex and Hamilton counties, you'll find like their 2024 visitor profile for both day users and overnight folks. You look at what is drawing people, and the people that the Roost region is drawing are coming from the greater capital district, as well as Metro New York, Boston, a lot of the same people that we're competing for here in Warren County. Their top activity was outdoor activities, including outdoor recreation. So we're trying to find ways to continue to build up these assets that will essentially help us compete with our northern competitors up there.
Questions for Ethan? Supervisor Ito?
Do you intend to apply for all 4 of these in the CFA?
Yes.
Questions? I know the budget's being worked on now and the committee will review these as they come in. You get, your department gets a line item from Octax. Does any of that go towards grant match?
Yeah, actually, some of it will, some is being used for consultant work to queue up projects that can advance to grant readiness as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're using it pretty strategically. Thank you.
Good projects. Supervisor Patchett?
Yeah, I've got a question for Mr. Gaddy. You know, with these recent hot days, it's kind of in the light that, you know, water access is just critical for anyone that coming to Warren County. And I can tell you in the town of Hague, we had these super hot days and all there is really the town beach, or you could pay to go into Rogers Rock. And I'm just wondering if, and I didn't read the comprehensive plan that you've submitted in the great detail to know this, but has it been considered in terms of acquiring water access through critical properties on Lake George or Brant Lake or Lake Luzerne for that matter, as a way to promote our area in the future? So I just see us getting more and more populated, yet water access is just continually restricted. And I mean, really, it all comes down to clean water. That's why we all live here.
Yeah.
And it's just something that occurred to me that maybe we should make a priority at it.
Yeah.
In terms of a county.
Yeah.
Land acquisition. We see a critical property come on board, we should be thinking about it. And maybe the county doesn't want to maintain that property, but we could buy it potentially and I don't know how we exactly buy it from a funding perspective and lease it back to the town from a maintenance perspective, and then it just helps promote the town.
Yeah, that's a theme that came up a lot in the outdoor recreation economy strategic plan, was public access to water. We heard from a lot of stakeholders. We did a lot of like industry roundtables in the development of the outdoor rec economy plan. And it was, yeah, consistently water access was brought up over and over again. The strategy that we outlined in the outdoor rec economy plan was really to focus on the sites that we do have and improve the accessibility and experience at those sites. Because we do, as a county and municipalities, have a lot of control. We did not get into the topic of acquiring additional water access, particularly on Lake George. I mean, that's a big endeavor. I certainly think, you know, looking at partners like the Lake George Land Conservancy and other folks who that's in their mission, there's probably ways that of partnering with them as well. They're also a bit more experienced at acquiring land, but yeah, public access to water is big. We actually put in a grant application in June to the Department of State trying to improve water access along the Screw River. We own a number of sites, and it was like, can we start prevent erosion, get rid of the invasives, and make it a little bit more accessible? But yeah, it's a big need, and we would like to continue putting attention towards it.
Is getting a grant to acquire a waterfront property a thing, or is that
Yeah.
not so much a thing?
Yeah, you certainly could. OPRHP, Office of Park Historic Preservation and Recreation, they do grants for land acquisition.
Thank you.
Well,
Any other questions? Thanks, Ethan.
you're welcome. And I do encourage you to read the outdoor rec economy plan, as well as the research report that backs it up. This includes a lot of the stakeholder conversations summarized very neatly, as well as the public surveying about it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Referrals, none. Privilege of the floor and public comment.
Just a couple things, thank you. Just a couple things that I just wanted to mention. I think Warren County executives, I think the director of tourism and the county administrator were noted because, and I was out this weekend and asked again about Canada. Again, I just wanted to let you know that I think there's definitely a decrease. I don't think it's as big as everybody thinks it is. The other thing that's a key factor is the exchange rate. So I just wanted to put that out in everybody's ear. The other thing someone brought up to me, and when I'm talking about occupancy tax, I just wanted to clarify. When we're not just looking at identifying short-term rentals and compliance with short-term rentals. That's what we do now. And we have Granicus or whomever come in. What we're doing now from an optimization standpoint and an automation standpoint is end-to-end. We are letting the short-term rental hosts actually register online all the way through payment. So that's where, that's the really big lift. And Deckard has a phenomenal identification and compliance tool. Where they fell down a little bit was on the end-to-end. I just wanted to make that clear to everybody because they really do have a very good tool for identification and compliance. In fact, I think 2 out of the 3 quotes that we had told us that, we have as many as 1,500 short-term rentals. And I said, well, thank you. We have 1,700. So really the guys are doing a great job. And that's how I got them to drop their price by half price because we've already done the identification and the compliance work. We're also optimizing the person that the hotel that was delayed with their reporting, they actually were an annual reporter and they've, 2 or 3 years behind. We have 5 reporting periods now. We're getting that down to 2, which is going to give us a lot more accurate reporting of occupancy tax. This annual hotel motel resort should actually have been monthly. So again, as we're going through this process, we're finding more and more ways to get better. And then the very last end of the occupancy tax portal, again, not just for STRs, but for motels and hotels and resorts, is payment online. So it's registration all the way through return reporting and then payment online. And what I'd like to do is I'm looking at several payment options, web pay options, not only for the county. So I'm actually kind of reaching out to all of our departments. There are very secure ways to pay online that offer a lot better pricing for our taxpayers. Once I figure that out for the county, I'd like to reach out to the towns to see if we can improve. I know Queensbury has payments online, et cetera. And finally, op tax law update. We have been working on this for a while, but with all of the New York State change, we were like, let's put this on pause until we figure everything out. I've been hearing from a number of supervisors that, they weren't aware that all of the towns and municipalities had their own op tax laws. And I said, yes, we're aware of that. I think when we do the county op tax law rewrite, I think we're going to need to take into account everything that's going on in the municipalities. And we may need to do a little bit of streamlining. One thing that was brought to my attention is people were a little bit, they just wanted to understand the registration fees. The county doesn't have a registration fee, but the towns do. And in fact, one town is trying to actually have their own occupancy tax for the town versus the county op tax. I think all of that just we need to look at that holistically. And I think we're going to have that opportunity to do that just to make sure our hosts understand, the end to end, not only in the county, but through the municipalities. Any questions? Yep.
Supervisor E2.
Just curious, how much did that resort owe back to get current?
I'll get back to you on that. I don't have the number off my
100 or less,
top of my,
or more?
I don't have the number. I'd be guessing.
Just wondering how much those Q2 and year to date figures were skewed by that.
Yep, I'll give you well, we have it percentage wise, but I don't have the exact number.
Yep.
So if you remember, the Q2 was
1%.
4% for June and 7% for the quarter, but I'll get you the exact number.
Is Airbnb working better with us?
No.
Not at all.
No, in fact, they've tried, but again, they've actually done themselves a little bit of a disservice because they've been very inconsistent with their messaging to their hosts. And some hosts didn't actually do what they ask them to do. So they are in fact still collecting some tax on behalf of the hosts. Again, that's going to the hosts and the host is sending it to us. But until September of 2025, we're not really gonna get the platforms to do what they're supposed to do according to New York State law. In addition, we are now just getting ready to get our first reporting from VRBO. And they are backpedaling a little bit and telling us that they're only gonna give us certain information without a subpoena. Meanwhile, if I go into the New York State law, they are required to give us this information. I don't know if that's just in the short term that they're gonna require a subpoena, and by September, they're just gonna give it to us, but I just need a little more time to work with them.
Yeah.
Thank you. You
So,
good?
so we're done with Granicus, that's done.
Granicus,
When you made reference to they offered you half price, was that for Deckard? What,
so I got GovOS and Deckard to come down almost, actually half price. GovOS because I didn't want their identification and compliance because I've just done it for 2 years. Mike Swan did it for a year. I just did it last year for Granicus. I have 1,700 properties. They were telling me I potentially have 1,500 properties. So my focus is on the end-to-end portal. That's our focus right now. Deckard couldn't give us a portal without their underground, without their rentalscape technology, whereas GovOS could. So that's how I got them down to half price.
and that half price was 43?
For Deckard, it was 43,750.
Okay,
For GovOS, it was 62,1 from 120.
all right. And then you mentioned an annual reporting. So the county tax guidelines says you have to mimic what you do for New York State sales tax, right? So if we report monthly for New York State or quarterly, we want to try and eliminate the annual, right? For accounting reasons.
Right, that's one of the things that I really want to look at. There really shouldn't be, there's very specific numbers and we missed it with this one hotel motel resort. They not only should have been, they shouldn't have been annual, they shouldn't have been quarterly. We've moved them to monthly.
Yeah,
And so they'll be much more compliant, but Granicus, for example, only had one reporting, ability, whereas the others have, 3, 4, 5, but all of the references that we've checked and all of the counties that we've talked to across New York State, the majority of them stick to monthly and quarterly because it gives you much better reporting,
Yeah.
revenues, real-time recognition.
thank you. Anybody else like to address the board? Supervisor Patchett?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I just wanted to talk about this water access thing just a little bit more in depth. Clearly, we get $8 million a year approximately in occupancy tax and we distribute it. And I'm just wondering, have we ever kind of gone into detail in terms of what's the threshold between what we spend versus what we spend in terms of what that growth is going to be for the 8 million? Or is there just a maintaining line of, meaning could we cut it back to 6 million and potentially still have that same 8 million coming in of what we're getting? And I know the answer is probably ambiguous and we really wouldn't know. And I think it goes to Mr. Wild's comments on ROI. But, in a world, like I can only talk about 20 years, even 10 years ago, what real estate was costing and what it costs to acquire land, and everything just keeps going up and up and up at an exponential rate. And, when I'm here 20 years down the line, would it be wise if we did really take a serious look at acquiring water access more so? I mean, even like if we did something as drastic as, we're at 7% sales tax right now. If we went up to 7.5 and had a dedicated water access fund and really took it seriously, what could that do for the county in 20 years? And I just think it's something that should be thought about. I mean, Mr. Gaddy said that came up time and time again when I asked that question. And just throwing it out there as, you know, water is just so critical and I hate to belabor the point, but I mean, doesn't the town of Lake George have a locals only beach?
We have a Diamond Point. Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, we don't have that in Hague
Yeah.
and just thinking that
that was in a deed written a long time ago, but yeah, we do.
still write deeds, I think, if we acquire the land.
So what you're proposing or saying is make an effort to acquire lands either at a county level, town level. I don't know if you could purchase land with Octax. I don't know if you can even do that. I'm not sure. We'd have to look into that, but to acquire land for access to the lake, whether it be swimming or boating or kayaks or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so-
I mean, it's a great idea. You'll have a lot of the special interest groups pushing back probably, but that's okay, but. Yeah, access to the lake is tightening up. I agree with that. It's getting harder and harder.
I just started thinking about it because of our business community meeting that we
Yeah.
had. And there was a lot of good ideas in there, but when I got home and I Googled how much it would cost to create a multi-use facility, you know, that number was staggering.
Got any properties in mind?
Not necessarily, but I think as they come on the market, it should be taken into consideration and it all starts with us generating a fund that would be, you know, solely for that. I mean, I think, I forget what we, during that whole presentation a year ago, but you know, 0.5% or even 1% of sales tax. I mean, that number was staggering on what it could do. So, I mean, I know that wouldn't be a popular thing, but sometimes doing the unpopular is what's best for the whole group. So just
Yeah,
the
yeah,
thought.
stay with it. Let's keep it going.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Motion to adjourn. Oh, I'm sorry. Pull that back.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was just gonna mention, DPW does manage 12 canoe launch sites. Most on rivers, smaller lakes, none on Lake George. Do have water access through those sites.
Thank you.
Good. Motion to adjourn. Motion made by Supervisor Etu, seconded by Supervisor Runyon. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carried. Thank you, everyone.